Just like I said, around that little isolated stuff, it's just a little bit different.
Yeah.
You know, one of the biggest things that I guess growing up here on Table Rock and just listening to a lot of people that come here are always shocked by is the clarity of the water. I mean, right now we've had so much boat traffic. It's summer, you know, you got traffic day in, day out. The lake's been high, so it's a little bit dirtier than normal, but you know, clear water lakes are notoriously good for topwater, but I mean, a lot of people come to this lake and they can see the bottom, they can see around these bushes, and it freaks them out and they don't want to throw a topwater. And the thing about it is all it takes is a little shadow and to hold the fish. I mean, a stick in the water and he'll stick his nose behind it or his eyeballs, and that's all he needs for cover. And until the water just gets, you know, up there in the low 90s, you know, upper 80s, low 90s, I mean, as long as there's some cover in the water, there's going to be some fish that hang out up here shallow. You know, they're up there chasing brim, they're eating shad, they're eating crawfish, and as long as they've got somewhere to live, they're going to be up there. And when it comes to color choices, I mean, I don't think you can go wrong with black or white. I mean, yeah, there's tons of different colors, but black or white day in, day out is going to be the two colors I lean toward and throw. You know, when I get into those low light conditions, darker days, things like that, I'm going to stick to probably black more often. But when you get, you know, brighter conditions, or, you know, just one of those cloudy, I know it's hard to conceive, but a cloudy bright day, you know, one of those days where you just got low clouds but it's still kind of bright outside, white can really be good, you know. But you don't have to get real tricky with your colors when it comes to throwing a topwater, especially in these clear water situations. I mean, covering water, you know, you can't slow down, you've just got to cover water. If you get into one of those zones where you do get 2 or 3 bites, you can always double back through it and slow down. But it's really about just covering water and making as many throws and presentations with that bait as you can possibly make in a low light condition. You know, I'm probably not going to throw this bait right up into the middle of the day, but as long as I've got, you know, some angle on the sun, as long as there's some good shade being thrown by that bush or ledge rock or whatever it might be that I'm throwing at, I'm pretty comfortable throwing a topwater, you know, through the course of a day here on this lake. That's what we've been looking for. That is what we've been looking for right there. That is why it is so fun to come to Table Rock early summer and throw a topwater, whether it's a buzzbait, spro cyclone, buzz shad. That is what it's all about. That's the third bite I've had, and every one of them have been that big or bigger. So it's got to be one of my favorite ways to catch them. I mean, Table Rock this time of the year, just covering water, low light conditions, throwing something that's buzzing on top, and you're going to have days that you catch a bunch of them like that. So one of the biggest things, you know, when you come to a lake, especially when it's flooded, I mean, Table Rock, I guess a month ago was probably 12 to 15 feet higher than it is right now. And one of the biggest problems I think a lot of people, or mistakes people make, is they come here and they see all of this flooded cover in the water and they just get caught up fishing it. One of the biggest things you need to focus on is places where you have isolated cover and where you can actually get to the bank. I mean, you look at this little area right here behind me and you've got a lot of clean bank, you've got a lot of alleys, you've got a lot of places you can throw. That's the big key, looking for isolated cover, isolated bushes. The more flooded a lake gets, the more you want to look for those less cover places. I mean, that's when I start looking to go fish around the parks and the launch ramps and any place that there's clear yards, things like that, and you're going to be a lot more successful when a lake floods. Just like I said, around that little isolated stuff, it's just a little bit different. Not a big one, but a nice one. Thing about it, I mean, man, we've covered a lot of water, and the biggest thing that you've got to do is continue to cover water. Man, that dude does not want to give up. He's not happy. And just take advantage of the situations. You know, there's still a lot of cover in the water. I mean, they've dropped the lake, like I said, 5-6 feet in the last 10 days. But these fish just keep pulling out. But a week ago when the lake was flooded, I mean, this would have been an ideal area to really focus on. Stuff that there isn't a lot of cover. I mean, avoid that kind of stuff. And, you know, throw a variety of different baits. I mean, you know, you might even catch some on a frog right now. This is that new Spro Cyclone. Just a cool new little prop bait. Rod and reel is so important too. You know, line, everything that you do is so important. But I mean, that's a good solid 15-inch Table Rock 2-pounder. But it's just making the right decisions, covering the water, and making sure you're ready when this situation presents itself. Crazy. One little clump right there. Look at that. One little clump of grass is all it takes. One little clump of grass. Dadgummit, they're feisty. 2 bites right there in a matter of 2 throws, basically. It's a good one. You know, you got to go back and look at it. I mean, you got to cover water. And I mean, every now and then you're going to come to stretches like this where it's just solid bushes. But there's a lot of things that I'm really trying to pay attention to. Number one, you know, trying to find areas where there's more isolated sparse cover. But number two, I mean, most everywhere I'm fishing right now is going to be tied to or related to the main lake. I'm not going to spend a lot of time way back up in creeks, especially on a lake like Table Rock, Bull Shoals, any of these clear water lakes this time of year. These fish really start pushing out of these creeks. I mean, not to say there's not some resident fish that stay in the creeks, but they really get more main lake related. So I'm going to focus on main lake, and even though it looks like we're fishing some really, really flat stuff, which we are right now, I mean, within a cast out there, it's 50, 60 foot deep. So I'm really focusing not on big flats, but I'm focusing on areas where there's flats close to deeper water, whether it be a main creek channel swing or a main river channel swing or just a ditch or a drain coming out of the backs of one of these pockets. I'm focusing on flat areas that have deep water adjacent to them. So just to wrap things up, I mean, we're here at Table Rock, early summertime. I really wish we could have shot this video a week ago. I mean, it was one of those situations where everything was just perfect, and they have absolutely sucked the bottom out of the lake. But when you get into a situation on a lot of different lakes across the country, I mean, it doesn't have to be a clear water lake, but any lake that floods, you know, late summer, one of the big things that you got to keep in mind is the fact that there's going to be an opportunity to have some fun and catch some fish on the topwater. You're going to have to cover some water, and you're going to have to be pretty selective. And the biggest things you want to do is, you know, focus on the baits you want to throw. I mean, today we've thrown a new Spro Cyclone, little prop bait, throwing it on a Falcon 517 all around. I mean, it's basically a rod that you can do a lot of different things. I can throw a small prop bait, a small buzz bait. I can throw, you know, little poppers, little walking baits. It's just a good all-around rod to get that done, and it's available in the Expert, the Lowrider, and the Cara. Then you've got, you know, a buzz bait, which is probably my favorite way to catch a bass. I'm throwing a big bite buzz toad, just a bait that you can, you know, throw in a lot of peculiar places. But the biggest focus, like I told you earlier on today, was paying attention to what you're fishing. You know, looking for, I had a big bite out of this particular isolated willow tree. Something that's a little different when you've got a flooded lake condition is the big key. Yards and parks and parking lots and things like that, when a lake really gets flooded, are going to be my main focuses. I'm not going to get caught up just fishing down a line of bushes that I can't throw my bait to the bank. The key there is getting your bait to the bank, because those fish are generally going to push, especially when the lake's up and stable. They're going to push as far to the bank as they can. When the lake starts coming down, they're going to get out here on these outer isolated patches of stuff, or like this morning we had that little flurry where we had a couple bites in the back end of a little flat pocket close to deep water, but there was a little patch of grass in the back of that pocket that was holding some fish. So you know, be conscious of your surroundings. Make sure you don't get caught up just fishing down the bank and covering water that lake. Be really selective and focus on shallower places that are close to deep water, whether it's the main river channel bend or just creek channel bends or drains coming out of pockets. Those are going to be the keys to being more successful this time of year.